right, welcome, revelers. This is Off the Rails, Right versus Left, the podcast that we do because we think the left is evil. I'm Rob B.
And I'm Brad Lee.
And I'm Brian G.
And we are Off the Rails, Right versus Left. Again, we're doing this show because we think everybody needs to know that the left is evil.
Classic.
Classic. Oh, don't tell me you're gone, dude. Oh, after we had a classic intro, we had a classic malfunction on Mr. Brad's signal there. You're there?
I'm here. I don't understand.
Hello. I don't know. It just like the bar shows that you have like no signal. There you go. Now you show like 5 bars.
Weird.
All right, cool. Well, hey, everybody. Welcome to the show. I'm Rob B. With me, as often,
Bradley.
and soon to be joining us will be our tons of fun buddy, Brian. But in the meantime, we wanted to get this kicked off. We had the week off last week, so couldn't risk, like, falling apart and, like, missing the show, you know?
Especially not when Trump's supposed to get arrested.
Yeah, so, oh, man. So here's my problem with that whole thing. Now, granted, this is ultimately going to be great for Donald Trump and the MAGA movement. I think it'll pretty much hand him the Republican nomination and probably the general election. That's if we have one. Because I'm kind of the opinion that everything that we hear news about is now just a distraction to a bit greater, like, more insidious plan. You follow what I'm saying? That's why, like, I titled this episode "The Great Distractor," because, like, literally, I mean, that's it. To, like, start with, okay, we're in a recession. Like, I pointed out over and over that our growth is less than inflation, which means we're actually selling less goods than we were by like 10%, which means we're already at a 10% recession, even if the numbers didn't show that we're not in a recession, which for at least one quarter we were officially in a recession. So, but that's their distraction, is like they distract away from like shit. Like, oh, okay, we have like the lowest labor market participation rate in like 20 years, and they distract from it by saying we have like the lowest unemployment rate since Donald Trump. Well, they don't throw that part in, but a historic level of unemployment. But what that leaves out is people that have been working for a job, looking for a job, or out of the job market for over a year, because they don't count in the unemployment number. Unemployment only counts the number of people that are receiving unemployment insurance payments. And if you've been unemployed for over a year, that doesn't count you. So you really have to, if you want to see who's employed, you have to look at the labor market participation rate, which is like creeping down to like 59,000. But you also have to understand, like, everybody that's been laid off in the last several months, I think I totaled it up, it was like from major companies, something like 280,000 layoffs. Those people don't count as unemployed for like 6 months because of their severance packages. Well, I hate to tell you, they're already unemployed. They're not going to be getting a new job, especially not making what they were making. So the likelihood is, in 6 months, they're going to pop up as unemployed when they've already been out of the labor market for 6 months. Right? So they're distracting from the real labor force weakness by pointing to the unemployment rate. But the unemployment rate is false. If you were to consider the nearly 70% inflation, or the nearly 70% labor force participation that we had under Donald Trump prior to the pandemic, and compare it to the like 61% now, that's like 8% of participating labor that's no longer in the labor force, add that to the 3.5% that are officially unemployed, you're looking at 11% unemployment rate. That's an atrocious unemployment rate. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And Biden's been in office long enough now that everybody that he lost their jobs through killing the oil industry and shit like that. None of those people count in the unemployment numbers anymore because they've been unemployed over a year.
Right.
Okay, so then what else you got with him? Let's see. The FBI finds documents in Joe Biden's Penn Center where the Chinese are involved, and instead of hearing anything about that, they go and raid Mar-a-Lago. Right?
Uh-huh.
For documents that they knew that Trump had, that he said that he had, and he's just saying, well, I declassified them, they're mine. And the Supreme Court ruled that he gets to make that call. He was the president.
Uh-huh.
Right? So literally, he could have anything he wanted there. He could literally have had the nuclear codes in there. If he decided they were declassified while he was still president, he can keep them.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? There's nothing that he was limited by in saying that it's no longer top secret. So they did the raid as a distraction from the fact that Biden actually had shit in his office that was from all the way back when he was a senator, where he would have literally had to stuff the shit down his pants to get it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, some documents were from his time as VP, yes, but he couldn't declassify any of it, which meant he had no right to take any of it.
Uh-huh.
But the majority of the documents...
Even as he was a senator, he had absolutely no business taking any of that stuff.
Well, you know how senators review classified documents, right?
In a skiff.
Yeah, in a skiff. So they're literally going into a black hole. They basically like get patted down going in, patted down going out, like checked for wires and like electronics, so they can't record anything. And then they go into the skiff. And there was another guy that like literally snuck shit out of a skiff and should have gone to jail. He ended up like just getting like probation or something. But again, that was an Obama employee, right?
Uh-huh.
So and it like goes back even further than that. Like and like the media plays with this like completely. Hillary Clinton had serious questions about her handling of classified documents, the classified emails, the fact that her computer was breached, the fact that there was classified information on the DNC servers that were also hacked. And all of a sudden, well, you know what would distract him from me accidentally letting the Russians have them? If we say Donald Trump purposely let the Russians have it.
Mm-hmm.
You get what I'm saying? So, like, that's what Democrats do. They distract from everything. Like, if you say, hey, we need to focus on inner cities because income inequality is what's hurting life, and we need to stop encouraging single parenthood because that's the leading determinant factor for poverty and criminality. Boom, cops are killing black people, even though it's not supported by the statistics. Yeah. It's always the great distraction from what's really going on with problems that are being caused by Democrats. Right. Like, you look at the Flint thing, they did the same thing, right? Mm-hmm. So you know how the Flint water problem started, right? Okay, so the city of Flint no longer wanted to pay Detroit for water. So they decided they're going to get their own water out of the lake, which is highly acidic. And so they're piping this acidic water through lead pipes. It quickly ate away the coating that had built up over the years and began eating the pipes and feeding it in there, okay? So the leaders of both the governor and the city council and the mayor of Flint at the time were all Democrats. They all tried to blame the Republican mayor Republican governor that just got elected for a problem that was created 3 years before by Democrats. Why? Well, they weren't trying to like give a break to the voters. They were trying to take that money and use it somewhere else. Oh yeah, and I think like 3 members of the city council had stakes in the companies that were actually performing the work to transfer the water sourcing.
Huh.
So literally, these city council members voted to get everybody sick so they can make money. But that's the part of the story you don't hear. Instead, you get the great distraction of the Republican governor isn't doing anything about it. So, and then for 2 more years, Obama's president, and you don't hear shit about it in the media, other than, it's the Republican governor's fault. Never mind the fact that the Republican governor had nothing to do with it. And at that point, it's a FEMA issue.
Yeah.
And yet Obama did nothing about it. And everybody just made the excuse that, it's a state issue. It's not really Obama's fault. And then as soon as Trump becomes president, it's his fault for not fixing it. Well, that's absolutely impossible to fix. You know how many millions of miles or thousands of miles of pipe there is in an entire city? So it takes forever to fix, which is why the whole thing's been going on for all that time. But the great distraction was first blame it on the Republican governor, then blame it on Trump, even though it's all the responsibility of the Democrats. Okay? So black on black crime is skyrocketing, right? Mm-hmm. So more and more people are dying because of their BLM protests and all this shit. So what do? They distract from the results of the BLM protests by shifting attention to January 6th. The worst day in the history. Have you seen some of the videos that Tucker's been releasing? It's a joke. And yes, there was violence. At the beginning, every time he does a segment on the video that he's going through, he starts off showing the violence, saying, this is violent. These people should be in jail. Mm-hmm. Okay? And then he goes and shows videos of all the people that are sitting and rotting in jail without a trial, having their constitutional rights violated, that literally were waved into the courthouse, escorted around by police officers. One dude they were trying to crucify on that shit was literally in the building for 1 minute after being waved in by police officers. He got inside and the police officers inside say, no, you got to leave. And he left. He was literally inside for less than 60 seconds, and they were trying to charge him as a domestic terrorist. Absolute insanity. But the great distraction point, can somebody look at the messages?
Yeah, hello, Mackie. I hope I'm saying that right. Mackie Shakur. Did I say that right? Let me know.
Oh, Shakur, is it spelled like Tupac?
Shakur.
Welcome to the show. Thanks for chatting us there. Hey, can one of you guys pull up our feed on Rumble? Make sure to mute it so it doesn't create feedback, but pull us up on Rumble so we don't miss any Rumble chats. Because I've gone back and looked, and sometimes we get chats on Rumble, but it doesn't feed through to the main interface. That's weird. So we want to watch it because if somebody super chats, they can super chat and send us money through the Rumbles. So if somebody's going to send us money, we want to make sure that we get it. So we don't miss any Rumble chats. There you go. Make sure you mute the one that's coming up on the phone. Anyway, so is it Maxie? I can't see it. Is Brian alive over there?
What is this about? We're talking about the Democrats and the distractions that they're using.
They got volume is really low.
Whose volume is really low? Mine?
Brad.
Oh, no, Brad's volume's good. Turn up your volume.
Man, you're loud. I can barely hear Brad.
Oh, that's weird. His volume's actually up louder than mine on the thing. I can hear you perfectly.
Brian?
Oh, you're low, but
you're low. I can barely hear you.
Oh, yeah, I hear Rob's just radiating. I barely hear.
Well, that's because I'm merely a microphone for our Lord. That's all.
Yeah.
That's all that's about.
Jackie was just asking what this is about.
Yeah. So what we're talking about is everybody sees the news stories, but I'm just pointing out how like every time something happens that's a Democrat's fault, magically something comes up that they can point at or they can blame Republicans for to distract from what's really going on. And so like kind of I made the point with like, oh, Clinton did the same thing when he was getting Hummers from the chubby intern. He was doing the same thing, like lobbing missiles into Libya or something like that. No, it wasn't Libya. What was it? Lebanon, maybe? I don't know. One of those countries over there. But he was like,
Chinese embassy?
Yeah, something like that.
Was that Clinton?
Yeah, like after they attacked our bases, like he distracted that and the whole Hummer thing. It almost makes you wonder, is like, as shady as we're beginning to realize Democrats are, it almost makes you wonder if they like. Bear with me just a second. You guys chat for a second with yourselves.
Oh, how you doing, Brad? How you doing, Brad?
Good. How are you doing, man?
Good. Just tired.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah,
Life is crazy.
I had to do some stuff at my kid's school, so I didn't get much sleep.
Was it fun?
Yeah, I was doing a hot lunch thing. Had to pick up food and take it in and serve it to the class.
Nice. I've just been working, busting ass.
Yeah, I bet.
Pulling engines out and putting engines in. Oh, man. The kids had ear infections together, one right after the other.
Oh, that's not easy. That makes for a hard day.
Oh, yeah. Especially when it happens in the middle of the night at like 1.
Oh.
What happened?
Oh, my daughters both got ear infections.
Yeah, that sucks. The left is evil?
Huh?
Oh, that was one of you guys typing it. We talk about how the left is evil.
How the left is evil.
So I'll actually like moderate that. The left people on the left are either evil or stupid.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, like I'm kind of beyond the point of giving them the benefit of the doubt and saying they're just stupid. And the reason I say I'm beyond giving them that benefit of the doubt is the fact that, like, at some point you've got to just know the difference between right and wrong. Like mutilating children, like pretending women don't exist. Like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, Women of the Year for the NCAA for Time magazine is a man.
Pushing their agenda instead of following science.
Yeah. So, like, compilation, I meant to record it, and I never went back to get it. But it was getting about the pay gap in women's, and then they showed, like, Serena Williams, tennis, against, like a tennis guy, and getting demolished. Then one of the mixed couples, like, tournaments for professionals. Basically, the team that had the guy serving won every time because he just go straight through, serve every time to the woman, and she'd miss it. Then it showed, the number 5 ranked soccer team in the world playing against a team of 15-year-old boys, 7-0.
Well, it's kind of annoying. Is he cutting in and out?
Yeah, he's cutting out.
Oh, shit. Okay. Can you hear me now?
Most of what you said, but every few words you're like, cut out, back in, cut out.
Okay, is it like communicating properly now?
No.
You get like 6-7 words, and then you miss a couple. Whoa, there he goes off.
He must have been pissed. He's like, fuck it.
I have a question.
What's
going on with all these rail derailments, the train derailments?
Oh, is it abnormal though?
Well, I mean, I never remember
Well, they
seems like
never
almost
made
every
it, dude.
week there's another
Seriously,
one.
unless it's like a hazardous material spill, they never made it a big deal. But literally, like one train derails like a
It seems like
day.
every week now there's another one. I mean, just here in Washington, over in Anacortes,
Yeah,
there's another one
it's not
that polluted some
unusual for
water.
trains to fall off the
Yeah,
track for some reason. But
it polluted
they
water.
have to, like, if you ever go and if you go to if you look at the train tracks, right, that you see in Washington, and if you see off to the side, you'll see like railroad ties, like piles of railroad ties, like,
Mhm. Yeah,
you know,
anywhere, even up in
staggered
Alaska.
apart. Well, that's because they have to service the track occasionally, and they have to pull old ones out and put the new ones in, and so I mean, it's not unheard of that trains derail often, is what I'm saying. Like
Yeah, but
there's like 1,000 a year train derailments since like
I don't know how often
1993.
that is. I mean, if you had derailments every single week, all the time, people would not be using the trains anymore.
It happens, dude.
Well, except it's like
honestly,
3 a day.
Now,
Oh,
it seems like I just
No,
said,
it's
it
been
seems like
3 a day
every
for
week.
like 10 years.
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah,
So, okay.
this isn't an uncommon thing.
Okay,
They just
so
make it a
like,
big deal when it's like hazardous waste materials. And
right.
obviously, in some cases, they don't even try and make it then.
Yeah, most of the time they don't even report the shit. Well, and then there's also different scales to a derailment, but like it also depends on like how it derails. You guys remember the Philadelphia one that happened like right after the Ohio one, right?
Yeah.
Like right as the attention started getting put on the Ohio one, the Philadelphia one like happened. Do you know why the Philadelphia one happened?
It wasn't an unstoppable thing, was it? You know, where they had a ghost
No,
train
somebody
running.
put a fucking pipe bomb on the track.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. It was intentional. Somebody intentionally derailed a train. And imagine how much worse it would have been if they had put that pipe bomb like right before a train or a bridge, or like right in the middle of a neighborhood or some shit.
Yeah, a residential area, or
Yeah.
heck,
So
even in an industrial area that has like, I mean, Philadelphia is known for steel, right? I mean,
yeah, like if they had gotten one of the chemical cooling towers or some shit like that.
Yeah, I mean that could have been, could have been catastrophic.
Or those industrial waste storage containers that are like sitting there waiting for a train to come take away the industrial waste. The storage tanks are right next to the tracks. So, and it just seems an awful lot to me like somebody's practicing, you know? Like if you look all the way across, like there's been the attacks on the power grid with them like shooting transformers and substations and power generation plants and shit like that. You know what I mean? And it's going on like all over the country, like steadily and repeatedly. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Well, you wonder with some of this, how much of it is foreign entity doing something to do damage to the U.S. and its economy.
Yeah, I couldn't hear any of that, Brian.
I couldn't hear it either. For some reason,
Yeah, I can barely hear what Brad's saying, but I hear you fine.
Try refreshing your screen, B. Like I mean, I don't know what it is. Like we can't hear you and you can't hear us, or you can't hear one of us. So anyway, but that, like, so everything there, like, I mean, it all plays along the whole same thing. Like the whole Philadelphia thing, you didn't like see it because then all of a sudden he now, like right after they like announced the Philadelphia train wreck. Okay, well now we're sending tanks and shit to Ukraine, and suddenly everybody's talking about tanks to Ukraine.
And didn't Biden before, when he said that he didn't want to send tanks, didn't he he said he didn't want to send tanks because that would escalate it closer to World War III. I know
Right.
at the beginning he was opposed to sending the tanks, and now he's not.
Right. Well, and he's like playing this. He's playing this game. Like the goal is for Ukraine to win, or it's not for Ukraine to win. Okay. If your goal is for Ukraine to win, you need to give them whatever they say they need to win. And if you're not going to do that, then stop fucking around. Let Russia beat them and get it over with. You know what I mean? Because in the last year, all it's done is a whole bunch more people dying. I'm going to turn your volume up here, Brian, so hopefully we can hear you better. So say something, Brian.
What?
So, well, I turned up your microphone feed.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that
I have the same problem with Brad. I really have to listen to hear him, but yet your volume is radiating through my ears. I can barely hear anything else.
Okay.
That's interesting.
Let's see. So they say that most derailments happen in the rail yard. So it's not major. It's not a major event. Oh, Rob, I can't hear a word you're saying now. Hey, Brad, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, I can hear you. Now I can't hear Rob at all. Can you?
Oh, nope. But
Rob,
his signal is
I
red.
can see you talking, but I can't hear a word you're saying, man.
His network connection is 0 of 10.
No, I'm just reading. I'm reading a report from NPR.
Mm-hmm.
It's agreeing with what Rob said. Rob, I still can't hear a word you're saying. It agrees with what Rob was saying. There's it's averaging out last year to about 3 train derailments per day. But they're saying the right and the left aren't talking about it because it's not a big deal because most of those derailments are happening in the rail yards. So it's not really a major event. It says industry leaders say that most derailments occurred within the confines of rail yards and suggest that trains are safer than other modes of transportation, such as driving. Last year, train derailments injured 16 people and left 1 person dead, federal data shows.
Yeah, I definitely say that the death toll is not very high from train derailments, period. Like, that's obvious. Can you guys hear me now?
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. Your volume's better, so now I can turn up from my volume of 6 up to 26 and hear other stuff.
So at some point the headphones are going to kick back in. So anyway, so right now we got 2 huge things going on. Like basically the economy is collapsing. Once banks start going, like they're working to try and like capture the weak banks.
Well,
but it's gonna keep going exponentially. You know what I mean?
But I mean, here's the problem I see is people aren't blaming the left for this. It started when Biden took office with all his bailouts. The government spending was shot inflation through the roof, and our interest rates were down around 0. So what did they do? They started shooting interest rates up, which are now causing the bank, which is specifically what's causing the bank failures. It's the interest rates going up so high, so fast.
Yeah, well, and actually, me and Brad, one of our first shows that we did when we were doing Spotify only, which we never have on anymore, but when me and Brad did one of the original shows, we actually talked about the explosion of the inflation, and I said that it was going to stay.
Well, we lost him there.
He went to 0 of 10 again.
Yeah. No, but I mean, you know,
He went from Crawford to Greta.
No, I know you agree with You agree? We all agree. It's you have. Why is my name Rob Green now?
Because you remember you disconnected and then you connected back on.
All I did was reload. I didn't go out and come back in. But anyway, you have. I have so many friends that say that the president has nothing to do with with what's going on with the president really has no power and that he doesn't have any effect on anything that's going on in the U.S. It's like a lot of them are ex-military guys from the army or any of that, and they're like, "Oh, the president doesn't do anything. He doesn't actually have any power."
Really?
It's like, dude, but he leads. I mean, he sets the agenda, and he like all the government
Regulations
spending.
and okay, the same people that they say that oh, the president has no effect on he has no control over the price of gas, right?
Yeah,
And then they say that when the price is going up, right? But
yeah,
then when the price
But when the
goes
price is
down,
going down, it's all
they
Biden.
try to give him credit too. It's like,
yeah.
no, it doesn't work that way.
We
Either
can hear you, Rob.
he's the reason it goes up and he's the
Can't hear
reason
me?
it goes down,
Yes, we
or
can hear
neither.
you. Yes, we hear you, Rob. But
Okay.
yeah, I mean, but it's
So,
he sets the agenda. Yeah, he doesn't pass spending, but he still can veto the bills. He also can go to the House and say, "This is what I want to do. Make it so."
Right.
well, no, that's bullshit though, because all the additional regulations and executive orders and shit that he did,
Oh yeah,
like
and
he
the executive
directly
orders.
caused most of this.
Yeah, I was gonna say the executive orders that he's now using, which is total BS.
Yeah, that's a tyrant.
He's overstepping his bounds all the time.
And then he came into office and he hammered shit through on party line votes by capturing a few of the freaking rhinos. A lot of them are gone now, and at least they're replaced with real Democrats now.
Well, and I hear them talking about. I just heard them on a podcast. They were talking about Biden's answer for all spending is always, "I'm just going to tax anyone over 400,000." That's his answer every single time. He never has an actual plan on how to pay for everything, other than we're going to increase taxes on everyone making over 400,000. That's his answer every single time.
Or it's not going to cost a dime. It's
Yeah,
paid
it's
for.
not gonna. Yeah, it's not going to cost a dime because we're going to just increase taxes on anyone over 400,000.
Well, and
No, it's not
the
gonna
part
cost a dime
that
to
he
anyone else.
completely leaves out of that is everybody making over 400,000 is already paying 10 times more taxes than
Yeah.
everybody making $100,000 or less. 10
Yeah.
times more taxes.
Well, they were
What does
talking
the top
to
1% pay in income tax?
Top 1% pays 90% of the income tax. The top 9% or the top 10% pays 99% of the income tax.
oh gosh, I can't remember. Was it Glenn Beck or one of the podcasts I was listening to? They were talking to the co-founder of Home Depot,
Mm-hmm.
and he's like 91 years old now. But he asked him, "So what's his increase of taxes to the rich, to trying to take at least 20, or to corporations, increasing taxes above 25% going to do?" It's like, it's going to devastate everything because it's taking money away from all these people that are actually building businesses and hiring people, and you're taking money away from them, and then they're not building their businesses anymore.
Okay,
Rob,
so according to the taxfoundation.org, high income taxpayers paid the majority of federal income taxes. In 2020, the bottom half of taxpayers earned 10.2% of total AGI and paid 2.3% of all federal individual income taxes. The top 1% earned 22.2% of the total AGI and paid 42.3% of all federal income taxes. So pay attention, people. If they're telling you that the top 1% isn't paying their fair share, they're paying more than you are.
Yeah.
And that was just that was a Google search. Google's no far right search engine, I can tell you that.
I'll tell you, living here in Washington and Bellingham, there's a lot of, well, I'm in Linden, but I work down in Bellingham all the time. Thank God Linden's a really conservative community in Washington. But I work down in Bellingham, and one thing I do is I deliver papers and such overnight, 7 days a week. I work like 12, 14 hours a day doing that type of stuff. Make some really good money doing it too, just because I'm doing like 4 different papers. But I work with some guys, and they are extreme liberals. I mean, way left liberals. And it's so funny listening to them talk sometimes, just because it's like Michael, one of the guys, he talks about how pretty much anyone who's rich, who makes a lot of money, it's because they had a hand up. It's because on their way up, their parents or family gave them money to get started. I'm like, but I've actually read studies done that show most millionaires got inherited less than $100,000, and have most of those didn't inherit a penny on their way up. They scraped and they worked their butts off to build what they're doing and made their money. That's most millionaires. That's like 95% of millionaires. Does not have a hand up to become rich.
And I'm going to point something out here. Okay. You cannot give a handout to people that won't do shit for themselves. Well, and I'm going to prove this very simply. Okay. They said how bad we need to do the student loan cancellation, blah, blah, blah. Right?
Oh, yeah, it's crazy.
When they surveyed the people who were getting their debts canceled, most of them were going to use it on alcohol, drugs, or vacations.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because fucking liberals don't want to do anything for themselves. They want to wait for the next fucking handout they can get for a conservative that actually works.
Well,
it reminds me of an episode of Family Guy where Peter had to go get a second job, and he's playing the violin at this dinner table, and he's fucking... It's at this fancy restaurant, and he's about ready to start playing this violin, right? And then all of a sudden, he just starts playing it terribly, and he's all, "Give me money, give 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 me money."
Right.
And that's like, kids are that way today too. And I'm trying to keep, my kids are falling prey to it, and I'm the reason for it, and so I got to kick myself in the ass. But they just think that fucking everything is free and money grows on trees and shit, you know.
Yeah.
Probably like we did when we were kids, but.
So there is a YouTube video that I absolutely love that I saw years ago. It's about an American Indian activist, Russell. He testifies in front of the Senate. I mean, it's back from, I think it was from the 80s, but he testifies about the effect of socialism on the native tribes and how it's just how it's been the biggest enemy to the natives in the history. And how
look at the Alaska natives. Look at the Alaska natives and the native corporation dividends.
Oh yeah. Well,
what do you get? They send out those dividends, and then they're in town blowing all their money, and this it's like not even a joke. It's like they're literally dying on the streets in Anchorage because their villages are dry, but they get a ton of money, so they come to Anchorage and then die of alcohol poisoning and exposure. Yeah. Because they come to Anchorage and get wasted.
Well, I'll say there are some amazing natives out there, but I totally am behind you on that, Rob, because I've watched. If you're in Anchorage, you see natives on the corner all the time begging for money, and it's not because they're poor. It's because they get they get the checks from the tribes, and then they fly into Anchorage and they panhandle on the corners a lot of times because they know they can make so much money on the corners. So they'll fly in for the weekend and panhandle on the corners and then fly back to their native village for the week. It's true. I mean, I'm not saying it's, I don't know what the percentage is, but for someone who lived in Anchorage for his entire life, you see it all the time, and it's so sad. It
Yeah.
really
Dude, but that's what they want. I mean, dude,
So, and part of the reason the left doesn't get it is because they don't have kids because they're busy aborting them all.
yeah.
So, the people that don't need handouts don't understand what handouts do because they don't have kids. When you have kids, you understand they don't appreciate anything that they get for nothing.
right.
Okay, so if they do have kids, the only liberals with kids, because and this is it, the only liberals with kids are people that already aren't doing shit with their lives, so they need the government to support their family.
Yeah.
Does that make
But yeah,
sense?
but
If you have a utility meter like this,
but
Like I
I'll tell
want
you,
to see that. I want to see that survey. I want to know because you know that like the biggest growing demographic is rich white females for the Democratic Party. How many of those don't have kids?
Oh, most of them because they're
I would say outside of New York and LA, none of them.
no, but I'll say, man, I think if you go onto Google and do a search for Native Chief testifies about socialism in front of the Senate, it'll pull up this video, and it's totally worth seeing, man. It's 1989. He testified in front of it, and it is what he says about socialism and its effects on the native tribes is awesome. It's
well,
like
I mean,
all over the world.
well, why is it that he can see that in his native tribes, but the rest of America can't? Because the same thing that's happening to the tribes is happening in rural America.
One of these,
So,
one of these times we should watch this video on here and then talk about it because it is powerful, man. It is.
yeah.
It's all.
What are you gonna do? Download it?
Well, I could just share screen it whenever we do it and watch it.
So share screen it, do it, hit it.
Well, how long is it?
Actually, I've never actually shared screen on this service here.
It's
Okay,
right
we'll
down
do
on the
we'll
bottom
do a
next
test
to
run
the.
another time to see the shared screen, or we'll go live on just the backup channel on YouTube.
Yeah, I was thinking on what is the streaming service that everyone uses for conferences and stuff.
Zoom.
Yeah, Zoom. I
Bro,
share.
you guys, Rumble is going to blow up. I'm telling you right now, man.
What's that?
Rumble. They just partnered with Steven Crowder.
Oh, did they?
Yeah. It's gonna explode, man. Dude, today
Well, how
on
long
his
ago did
live
they partner
stream,
with
he had
Crowder?
today on his live stream on Rumble crashed because there was literally like 200,000 people trying to get on all at the same time just to watch Steven Crowder.
Dude, that's crazy.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And he had Alex Jones on the last 2 days, dude.
Oh, that's why. That's like the double threat combination.
Oh no,
Crowder,
the numbers were the same the first day that they came back. The first day they had 175,000 live viewers.
That's crazy. Like
They're just
that's awesome. Like, well, I mean, even us, our numbers are going up on. Like, they're flat on YouTube because YouTube's like diminishing our reach, but on Rumble they're growing. We're getting up to like over 200 views on our videos there now. I mean, I know it's not hundreds of thousands, but we're trending the right direction. So
yeah, I mean, once we can all have computers and I don't
sit down
know,
time.
yeah, sit down time, and be able to like, like run a professional actual podcast.
So, well,
Then we'll be able to get better, and we'll be able to see the Rumble.
Well,
the
I'm
Rumble post.
actually making progress on a month that I'm there. I'll be able to just sit down every day, like at a computer. So at least for a month, we'll be able to have semi-professional podcasts. Although my gaming channel's kicking the tail out of our podcast, and I don't even have the stream set up yet. Like if I start streaming on there, I think it's just gonna explode. But like, I just can't figure out a good interface. Like, I'm doing great on there. So like, hopefully this like keeps up with it. I don't like the fact that my gaming channel. I think this is more important than gaming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, especially like, I mean, I know we don't get a ton of views on Twitch, but I'm just hoping that like when we're on Twitch, kids occasionally jump on and like maybe we can deprogram a little bit, like because of the absolute like horrific damage that's being done to them by these ass clowns on the left. So,
Russell Means.
anyway, was there anything else that you guys wanted to bring up? We're at 45 minutes.
Well, I'm just downloading my own video, see if I can put it on here.
Dude, I think the last time Brad tried to crash his computer, or the last time Brad tried to share screen, his computer crashed and it never came back to life again.
Why does that not surprise me?
No, you remember that's like the first time he tried to do a share screen on the restream. Like his computer crashed. It took him forever. He ended up getting back on the phone, and ever since then, it seems like his computer's been on its last legs.
Yeah, I gotta get a new one. That's several years old.
So well, I'm actually looking now. I'm getting a new generator here next month, and then I'll be looking at, once I have the new generator out at the house, I'm going to be looking at getting the Starlink. So once I have Starlink, I'll be able to record from the house. There's just not a good enough internet up there. That's why there's no point in me sitting down on my computer, like, because like even the places where I have good access to Wi-Fi, it's still so up and down because it's a public connection, you know?
Yeah. Oh, I bought a new car.
Yeah, I saw that. Of
It
course,
was
I know you asked me for my reference on it, so.
Got me a Subaru.
A Subaru?
Dude, Subarus are like legendary in Alaska. Like, I shit you not, people will be driving like 30-year-old Subarus. The bodies are all rusted out, but the engine still runs.
I never liked Subarus, never found them comfortable. The stories.
I think they're ugly as fuck. They haven't made a
love
good-looking Subaru ever.
Yeah,
Really?
I've driven a couple Subarus, and I'm just, every time I drive it, I'm like, I'm never driving this again. Like, I can't stand it.
I love it. All-wheel drive. Fucking the shit.
Did you figure it out, Brian?
Huh?
Dude, I had a 1986 Subaru manual all-wheel drive, literally on its side on this mountain with my wife in it, and she was all freaked out, and it was snowy. And I go, calm down, honey, just watch this. And she's all, I'm like, I could look out the window and I could like see the ground. Like I look out the side window and I'm looking at the ground. Like I shouldn't be seeing this. And I'm on this hill, literally like this. And so I pop it into 4-wheel drive. So it wasn't all-wheel drive, it was 4-wheel drive. Because the problem was I was going up this hill and it was all snowy and shit. And I go to throw it in 4-wheel drive and I didn't get it in time before I started sliding backwards. And as I started sliding backwards, I hit the edge of the road and then off the edge of the road all the way down the hill. So I'm stuck like this, right? My wife's just pissed off that I even fucking tried doing it, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, calm down, put it in 4-wheel drive, throw it in reverse, and back up. And this motherfucker comes back up onto the road below. And we just run like crazy.
All right, here, let me kill the...
Can you see that?
The chat overlay so it fills up the screen. There you go.
So Russell Means. It was he testified in front of the Senate back in 1989 about the effects of government spending on tribes and giving handouts to the tribes and the effect it's had on the native tribes throughout the U.S.
Malakota. Imagina um aqui existe hoje, pai, que ele estava aqui. E o campo. Então que é até a chunca muito
It's not all in its language.
This is traditional greeting of my people that I am bound to give, albeit it's a short version. What I said in my own language translated into English thusly. Hello, my relatives. I am Otrrvl Lakota, very sacred holy land, the Black Hills, where Yellow Thunder Village is. My mother is from the War Eagle clan, and my father's family is from the Crazy Horse clan. Greeting is to this day the way all Indians throughout the nation still greet one another, those that still know their culture. This is the only way we present ourselves to one another that is acceptable. We tell you who we are, where we are from, who we are from, our clans, and we do this without ever saying our name. Anything less would be an insult to you and to my people. The senators, my morning prayers to the great mystery always include you and your colleagues in Congress, as well as leaders in all governments. It is an honor to come before you as a spokesman for my people, the American Indians of the United States of America. In these United States of America, this great country of ours, we American Indians, we can be anything we want to be, except American Indians. And that is created by the laws of this nation and condoned by its subsidiaries, the so-called tribal government. The time for the Indian to fail, to be expendable, to be eliminated. I take you back in your history.
Blast from the past.
After the American Indian hostiles had been subdued and forcibly confined to Indian reservations, it took approximately 30 years, one generation, for us to adjust and become economically viable. Contrary to what the anthropologists say and what we even ourselves are taught as Indian people. However, allotments were made smaller, our remaining lands were open to our own homesteading, and we were forced into reducing our livestock. Nevertheless, we made the adjustment again in less than half the aforementioned time, 15 years, and become economically self-sufficient again. But once again, the American Indian was forced into reducing our livestock. The boss farmer concept was instituted. We were told what, when, where, how much, and how little we could grow. This applied to agriculture and our livestock. Again, we recovered in a time span of approximately 15 years. We were so successful in our third recovery that the American Indians enjoyed the finest of economic times, while the rest of the industrialized world was wallowing in the Great Depression. It was then that President Roosevelt introduced the Howard Wheeler Act, better known as the Indian Reorganization Act, the IRA, which institutionalized the so-called tribal governments, which are not one of our institutions, and it is still foreign to us this very day. We have yet to recover. 45 years later, the IRA, Indian tribal governments, on their own initiative, began renewed efforts at reestablishing their sovereignty focused on the oldest profession of American Indians. That's gambling. Bingo and other gaming operations has been, without exception, a proven initial success. Failure through mismanagement, politics, or litigation has been less than 15%. Showing a better than 85% success rate, the new Indian-sponsored gaming industry on reservations dwarfs success ratios of any and all other non-Indian industries in America. Gaming operations have proven to benefit the revenue gathering of all governments, be they county, state, or Indian reservation. With regulation of bingo and gaming by the Congress, we are experiencing repetition of history. One shouldn't remedy success. The results? The United States government, through Congress, once again intervenes to regulate a proven success in violation of all basic and fundamental rules of economics and totally contrary to all laws of capitalism. American Indians are human beings. We are supposed to be citizens of the United States of America. We fought in your wars in other countries. Our Navajo Nation code talkers served and saved this nation in World War II. We have the inalienable right to joint venture with whom we choose, as long as we do not harm nor commit fraud upon anyone. There is no piece of evidence anywhere that proves Indians ever conspired with criminal elements to establish bingo. The Bureau of Indian Affairs, the infamous colonial office of the Department of Interior, and the initiator of sleaze in government, has been regulating contracting on Indian reservations since 1824. This fact alone should convince and teach every student of government that regulation of commerce and enterprise does not work. In fact, it only produces the opposite result. Graft and corruption is rampant to the contracting auspices of the BIA and its surrogate tribal government. Indian front contractors bid for and receive government contracts only to proceed to build shoddy, dangerous bridges, buildings, schools, roads, and dams. The Indian is the scapegoat when there is a failure, and is always the one indicted. Contracting on reservations has proven historically to breed and feed corruption within the BIA and now the tribal governments. Within the past 2 years, I personally have attempted to assist 7 Indian reservations located in the Southwest, the Northwest, and the Northern Plains, to no avail. The investors I represented were from various groups interested in establishing banks, resorts, Indian-owned public relation firms, factories, fishing ports, and international trade. I now know that tribal governments do not want economic development unless graft is a major ingredient. The BIA is a major player in land leases being sold by petty bureaucrats for as meager an amount as $40. There is a scandal of monstrous proportions occurring in at least 2 Indian agencies, the BIA's branch of land operations and the branch of realty. I challenge this investigations committee to intricately go into the branches of realty and land operations. The BIA does not enforce its trust responsibility, quite to the contrary. In September of 1987, I moved from the poorest county in America, the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation, to the richest area in the country, the Navajo Indian Reservation. There is no difference. I paraphrase the former Secretary of the Department of the Interior, James Watt. If you want to see an example of failed socialism, go to an Indian reservation. The poorest and richest reservations in our nation suffer from identical problems: mismanagement, a bloated patronage system, no checks and balances, and tribal government's waiver of sovereignty in order to initiate debt. This is not anything new. This is an everyday occurrence in all tribal governments. Problem is leadership. In this case, it is the lack of leadership. Ironically, everyone, including you senators, referred to the allegedly elected tribal officials as leaders. Leaders are supposed to work for a better quality of life for their constituents. It is an insult to my heritage, my ancestors, and my dignity as an Oglala Lakota to have the term used loosely. Many of the tribal officials are honest and sincere men and women who have good hearts. Nevertheless, a vast majority of the tribal officials parasite on the incestuous world of tribal politics. not as our forefathers, who were the best providers, protectors, defenders, advocators, and friends. The game of who is the most important rules. It's embarrassing. At the turn of the century, American Indians numbered about 230,000, all traditional. With each succeeding generation, we lose our population base and our spirit as once proud peoples. The American Indian statistics of deprivation have remained constant since the end of World War II. All other groups of citizens' fortunes rise and fall with the gross national product, the GNP. The American Indian statistical line of deprivation remains constant, a straight line. With the blatant genocide of our traditional people, we have less than 50,000 in America today. We are averaging a loss of 1,000 a year since 1900. We are losing a value system as distinct people that sets us apart from the industrialized world. These facts surface in our tribal statistics, and no one attempts to do anything about it except for a few social workers and reservation police. This new statistical horror is women and child abuse. Child sexual abuse is epidemic on Indian reservations, and all you hear are whispers. This abuse can be directly attributable to the schools on the reservations. Education in the BIA, public, the contract, and missionary schools do not teach positive values from non-Indian culture, and in collusion with the BIA, certainly do not allow Indian culture and values to be taught. The fact is, educators continually denigrate American Indian traditional lifestyle as primitive, dirty, and without any redeemable virtues. And the tribal councils condone it. Needless to say, every time the U.S. government has interfered with American Indian lifestyles, it has been proven to be disastrous. In the 1960s, legal services were implemented on Indian reservations. It was a boon for the people. Tribal officials all of a sudden were held accountable. Legal services stepped in, and lo and behold, tribal courts had power to the power of attorney for the people. The result? An edict from Washington, D.C. is handed down, and legal services can no longer represent people against the tribal government, and they can no longer represent class action lawsuits against any government. Presently, legal services are not much more than a mill for divorce lawyer trainees. Congress passed the American Indian Religious Freedom Act in 1978. To date, 6 cases concerning our freedom of religion has reached the Supreme Court. We lost every one of them. We do not win.
Kill that. Like, we can totally, like, we need to, like, put that whole video up on all of our pages. Like, that's, like, powerful, but it's definitely, like, the point of what happens under socialism. Yeah. And that's with actually, like, a well-intentioned, because, I mean, the tribal authorities, for the most part, are well-intentioned. And but I would say the Bureau of Indian Affairs, that's the U.S. government that claims to care about people, and look at the horrible impact that they have on the tribes. And the leftist ideologies of not having kids and, like, not valuing family and all of this shit. Like, it's a direct parallel to what the Democrats want, but the Democrats want it more authoritarian. That's why you have these fascists that call themselves Antifa, attacking people like brown shirts. Yeah, you know what I mean? So
you've always said if you want to see a third world country, just go onto any reservation.
Right. Dude, if you want to see a third world country, just go to any city that's been ran by Democrats for 50 years.
Yeah, before like Seattle was a beautiful, clean, well-run city. Now it's a disaster. It smells like piss and shit, and
all the bumps
and crime. I'm scared to even take my family there because the crime is so damn high. I'm afraid something's going to happen to my family, and I live an hour and a half north of it.
Well, what, 40 years ago, California had a Republican governor
Yeah,
who became the Republican president.
Yeah.
They had a bunch of Republican mayors.
yeah,
The Democrats took over, and look what happened to California.
yeah. Now it's one of the worst places in the U.S. Extremely high crime rates, homelessness on every street corner. When you're walking on the street, you have to watch out for stepping on people's feces and drug needles, and it's just disgusting.
So
Same thing with Detroit, Philadelphia, Michigan, all those areas were all manufacturing hubs, heavily populated by Republican businessmen. The unions came in, along with them came the Democrats. The Democrats got a stranglehold, and all those areas died.
Well, that's just it, and that's true. Is Republican conservatives? I won't say Republicans. Conservatives build these cities into these beautiful, growing metropolises, and then as they get bigger and get wealthier, the Democrats come in and step in and start offering stuff to the people from money and programs and all this, and slowly, and sometimes not slowly, it degrades society, and the cities become what LA has become, what Seattle's become, what Detroit's become, what New York has become, and they turned around in the 90s, and then it became again now even worse. Just name the
I'd be willing.
name a liberal city in its direction.
Yeah, I'd be willing to bet that there's a direct inverse proportion between government spending and quality of life in any area in the U.S., with the exception of maybe the most rural areas. Like, I told you I had that like land out there in the Ozark swamps. Ooh, doing, doing, doing. There ain't no government spending out there, and there's no quality of life either. But outside of absolute anarchy, which is what's represented in the true rural areas, where there's not really any leadership per se, outside of those areas, I'd say the more the government spends, the lower the quality of life for the people living there.
Well, that's my worry with Texas and Houston and Austin, a lot of these cities that are growing so fast. Is as they grow, they're going to stop being what they've always been and become more and more liberal, and then you're going to see the same issues that you've seen in all the other cities. What are you trying to say, Brad? What's up?
Quality of life, like, that differs between people, right? So those guys that live out in the Ozark swamps, playing their banjos or whatever, probably think that their quality of life is pretty good because they know how to live out there, right? As opposed to somebody who doesn't and loves to live in the city. So I mean, at what point does it become whose responsibility is it to decide what your quality of life is?
Well, when you have to talk to your uncle, daddy, brother before you go to the high school dance, I think
that's basically what we did with those natives, right?
Right. No. So and like obviously, I live off the grid, so like I'm completely all for like the independent lifestyle. You know what I mean? I mean, I use technology for my work and whatnot, but as soon as I'm done with my day, I go back to the middle of nowhere.
Yeah,
well, and every time they created a program that was extremely successful and was lifting up the tribe, the government stepped in with their program and destroyed it. As soon as the government came in with their programs, everything went to crap.
Yeah, because all the bureaucrats are Democrats.
That's what's happening everywhere. That's one thing conservatives fight against. And talk about some hypocrisy, which I've talked to you before, is when do the conservatives actually start getting some of what they want? Right now, the liberals fight for more spending, more programs, more everything, and conservatives fight back. But they say, but the liberals get a chunk of what they wanted, and then they wait till next year and they get another chunk, and then they wait till next year and they get another chunk. So government never is going down. Government's always slowly going up. Where liberals might want it to go boom, instead conservatives fight. So instead of going boom, it's going boom, 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 until it's where the liberal wanted. And then conservatives come up to where they're at and say, well, we need to get back down. Well, then liberals are going, well, now we want this. So now we're going to get this because they'll let us get it. And the next year we'll get this. And the next year we'll get this. And the next year we'll get this until it's back up where they were. So now we have this incredibly large bureaucracy, which is what the liberals wanted 50 years ago, but couldn't get it 50 years ago because they were fighting against them. But it's where they want it now, and now it's not big enough for them, so they're going to fight for more. When do conservatives stop giving in and start saying, you know what, we need to go back down instead of slowly going up? We need to start slowly going down or quickly going down is what we prefer.
Well, when the libertarians realize that that's what's happening, then we could probably start gaining some grounds. But until the libertarians get their heads out of their ass, I don't know. Because here's the deal:
The only state where libertarians covered the margin is libertarians. Anyway, dude, libertarians have a better idea than fucking the rhino fucking Republicans that have been fucking spending money and doing everything they can to keep themselves in office. Like fucking look at Mitch McConnell, like fucking old fucking pussy neck himself. You know what I mean?
You were never able to finish what you were saying, Brad. What was it?
I didn't.
Sorry.
I was going to get into what he's just saying. He's just pissed off because I called them libertarians. But anyways, but what I'm saying is the reason that won't happen, Brian, is because there are Democrats, there are Republicans in the Republican Party who are actually Democrats, but there are no Republicans in the Democrats claiming to be Democrats. You see what I'm saying?
Well, that's why I've never called myself an actual Republican except by accident.
Right. And the thing is like what Michael Moles says. Conservatives, like you're saying, they don't care to conserve anything. Like what you just said, there was like a escalator, for what the libs want and take from us.
Yeah, it's always going one direction.
Basically, it's the slippery slope fallacy, right? They started with love is love. Let me do what I want in my bedroom. Stay out of my bedroom. Oh, we should all be able to get married. Blah blah blah. Oh, we should let men dress up as women and women dress up as men. And oh, don't worry, it's not going to come through your children. Then you go down the slope. This all happened within a matter of 10 years. This all got this bad in 10 years. So it's a slippery slope or a supersonic escalator, right?
Well, and I like your analogy of the escalator because it is at an angle. Because they would like to go in an elevator and go straight up, but because of conservatives, they're going at an angle. But it's a one direction. It's always going up.
Yeah.
When do we get off the escalator and start going down a little bit?
Right. We got to stop getting.
We never have. We've always been going up. Now, one thing I did like about Trump is when he did the regulations where he said, well, if you come up with one, you got to find two to get rid of.
Right. Right.
And I love that.
Yeah, because otherwise it's just going to keep doing that. Rob, I muted you for a fucking reason. You goddamn fucking noise, vibration, and harshness is killing me. I can't hear anything.
Oh, did you mute Rob?
Yes. He noticed it, so he just pushed it, and I was like, I fucking muted you on purpose, asshole.
I left it muted for a minute, but now I'm about to say something. That's why I unmuted it.
Okay.
So, anyways, no. So, like, literally, have you guys read all the Tom Clancy books?
No, I've never could get into.
Okay, so like in the one where Jack Ryan becomes the president, like basically it's he ends up being the vice president, and kind of like 40 and becoming the vice president, and then there's a joint session of Congress while the president speaks, right?
Yeah, I got you.
Okay. What my point is, what he says as he's like they're getting ready to hold the elections to new members of Congress. He says, "Send me businessmen, workers, send me people that know how to get shit done. We can fix this country." Okay, so. That needs to be Trump. He needs to be saying, whoever you're sending needs to be willing limits.
Rob, you're going out again. Can't hear you. Hold on.
Fuck.
You're going
It's
in and
your
out.
microphone, bro.
I start, yeah. Right as he started getting into his point,
I know.
cutting out.
I'm like, does your fucking microphone just know when you're excited?
Well, it was annoying because all of a sudden his volume goes through the roof again, and then we gotta turn him down. I like how you turned him down to like 10.
And you fucking start turning him back up, and I'm like, wait a minute, what?
I started turning up so it was to a decent point where we could hear him, but yet he wasn't overpowering us.
he was looking at us like, what the fuck are they laughing at? And I'm like, oh, because I saw him moving, I was like, oh, it's fucking Brian.
Are you, Rob? Your right as you started getting to your point, which I was looking forward to hearing. You started cutting in and out, and then at the end there, most of your words were out. Are you there, Rob? Or are you frozen? I haven't seen you move.
There you go. He just got 10 out of 10 on his network connection, so.
There you go. I can see you moving now. Rob, can you hear us? Oh, now he's out.
I hope that doesn't mess with his flow. He probably done forgot what he was talking about. Oh, he was talking about Jack Ryan and the election.
Yeah, when he became president, and then when he was telling everyone, send me businessmen, not politicians, I think is what he was trying to say.
Right. Yeah.
But any new thoughts on Trump and everything that's been going on?
Yes.
You're back, Rob. Rob, are you cutting out again?
It says he's got a 10 out of 10. Now it's got a 0 out of 10.
He's frozen again.
I don't know. We'll see. It looks like this whole indictment thing. I mean, like, I don't know why Trump said that they were going to do it, just so that they wouldn't. I don't know what that whole ordeal is about. I don't know why Alvin Bragg decided that he thought he had to go and fucking take up a case that the fucking federal government wouldn't take up.
Well, this is what gets me with the whole Trump thing. Is how is the justice system supposed to work in the U.S.? What's made it the greatest justice system in the world? The fact that we find a crime and then we
in search of a criminal.
Crime. We chase that crime and find the criminal.
Yep.
Not going, Brad, I don't like you. I think you're wrong. So what crimes have you done? And spending,
I'm gonna find one. Yeah.
And spending millions and millions and millions, tens of millions of dollars to prove that you committed one of those crimes, something. Because I know you did something, Brad. I know you've done something wrong. I know
I've done something wrong.
I know you've done something wrong.
Well, it's because there's like literally 50 tons of laws in the United States. Yeah. Every single person in the United States has broken a law. That's the reason why we don't have a justice system. So here's what you're supposed to have. You're supposed to have a victim that files a complaint, and you investigate the crime, and it leads you to the perpetrator.
Did you know?
Period.
Did you know there's a law in Boise, Idaho that says on Sundays you cannot fish off of the back of a giraffe?
Yeah.
Only on Sundays you can't do that. Any other day, go ahead and go.
Okay, I think it's in North Dakota. You have to fire your pistol into the air before you proceed through an intersection.
But that's what pisses me off. And at this point, no matter what they prosecute him for, and I'm sure they're going to get him for some things, it's going to be wrong and it's going to be idiotic, and people are going to hate them for it because all they've done is gone, okay, we know you've done something, we don't like you, so we're going to keep going until we find something we can get you on.
Well, look, their main witness is a man who was convicted of perjury.
Yeah.
In the first place. So it's like, dude, what?
And they had to go back.
Yeah, and the guy that worked for him brought 300 documents, and they only presented 6 of them. Yeah. And those 6 documents had nothing to do with Trump.
And they had to go back to something that happened in 2016.
Yeah, the crime that he supposedly committed is actually past the statute of limitations, but he didn't actually commit a crime. A non-disclosure agreement is not illegal.
Well,
and what it really breaks down to is Stormy McDaniels was trying to shake him down, and he paid her off rather than have a public fucking fight with her over money.
Melania wouldn't find out.
You know what they can make it look like? that he was doing it for political reasons to win the presidency, to shut it up, that then it can become a federal crime, and then there's no statute of limitations. So then they can prosecute him for it.
Okay, so let me get back to my point that I was making.
Yeah, please.
Because this is actually like to Trump. So what he needs to do is he needs to say, this is clear, okay? Look at what they've done to the people that walked through the Capitol on January 6th. Look at what they've done to everybody who tried to help me improve the country. And look at what they're doing to me. They are after you, but I'm standing in their way, so they're coming after me. So when we go into this election, we need to, every single person that has any value for the American way of life needs to come out and vote for me. So we make a landslide so huge, no amount of cheating is going to give them the election. So we just absolutely smash them. And even if you're not a Republican, that's okay. If you want your cities to be safe, vote for me. If you want your kids to get an education instead of indoctrination, vote for me. If you want your daughters to have a chance to go to college because they're competing against women instead of competing against men, vote for me. But when you vote for me, make sure that straight down the list, you send me people that are going to do their jobs. They're going to actually know how things work, you know, and fucking make sure that they're also committed to term limits.
Yeah.
That's what Trump needs to do. Right there.
Well, what was your whole point about Tom Clancy, dumbass?
That was the point about Tom Clancy. That's what he said. Like when they were getting ready to hold the election, he stood up. He said, send me businessmen, send me doctors, send me, don't send me lawyers, don't send me politicians. Send me people that work in the real world and know how things work so we can fix this country. And the only caveat on there's two caveats on what Trump's message to the American people after he's indicted should be. This is proof that they're after me they're after you and I'm in their way. So make sure you come out in such a landslide. We know they're going to play dirty games. You all need to come out, so there's no way they can override the will of the people.
Right.
And then he needs to make sure that everybody gets elected is committed to term limits. And like, honestly, I think every fucking Republican in Congress should be kicked out with the Democrats.
Yeah.
But I would like to see 100. I would like to see 100-0 in the fucking Senate and 460 whatever to 0 in the House.
Absolutely, the Democrat Party needs to. It needs an exorcism.
Yeah, the fucking people are evil. They're demonic. Dude, they celebrated Sam Smith at the fucking Grammy.
Dressed as a devil with a bunch of trainees.
So yeah, so that was my point about Tom Clancy. Like you should go and like read the speech that he gives in that that Jack Ryan gives in that book when he's after the whole Congress gets taken out. Like his speech is like powerful and it points like Tom Clancy's amazing, like amazing. Like he called September 11th like 10 years before it happened. They just didn't get to the Capitol.
Yeah, I've tried to read a couple of his books and I think he's awesome and I love his stories, but I couldn't get into the writing. I think I might download him and listen to him while I'm driving at night because I'm driving for like 12 hours a day.
Oh, which one was it that had Ben Affleck and God?
Ben Affleck and God?
Yeah. Morgan Freeman, God.
Oh.
Yeah, I got you.
Well, I mean, there's only three good gods for movie.
Yeah.
I can't remember the one from the Oh God series. He was a pretty good God. Alanis Morissette was God in Dogma, and Morgan Freeman is God in Bruce Almighty.
Yeah, I know. I love Bruce Almighty. That was a great movie.
So anyway, but no, that one in particular, I don't know why they didn't give it better coverage, but it was awesome. Anyways, we're coming up on an hour and a half. We all need to get on with our nights. So
why don't we remember that old guy's name, man? He lived forever.
Yeah, you know who I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I know who you're talking about. That old guy that always smoked a cigar.
Yeah.
He was a fucking huge star back in like the 90s and 80s and 70s. Well, right alongside Mel Brooks. God, why is he still alive?
I don't know. Anyway, well, everybody, thanks for joining us. Make sure you like, subscribe, hit the bell, share. Make sure you join our page on Rumble, otrrvl, because you never know when YouTube is going to give us the axe. Oh, on the next show, we need to talk about, I think it's the Ganjiang province in China, what's really going on with the Uyghurs over there. But I think when we get into that, we're actually going to move the talk over to Rumble because YouTube's going to kill us if we talk
Is there
about
some new stuff going on? I'll talk to you about it on tonight. But
yeah. So, well, I mean, it's more in depth to what's really going on, what's really the motivation in that province.
Are Uyghurs making a comeback? Yo. I got my baggy pants.
No, Uyghurs, not Uyghurs.
Oh. Stupid white boy.
that's
Anyway,
cracker to use.
thanks, y'all. Y'all got any final send-offs here?
No, you guys have a good night. We'll be seeing you again soon.
Peace out. Peace.